Hey there, and welcome to Psychosynthesis Self-Mastery. Today, I have the great pleasure to invite my best friend and colleague, Søren Hauge from Denmark, to a conversation about SoulFlow. SoulFlow is really something very dear to our heart because we have developed it together. And as you will see, it is a healing technique where we work with transformational processes and have an endeavor to link up soul and personal self with subpersonalities to create more flow, more aliveness, and more freedom in action. So today is a very delightful day for me. I have really looked forward to it and to speak with Søren about that. And just to introduce you a bit to what we will cover today, we will start by telling a bit about our journey together, me and Søren, and then afterwards we will go in and explain the healing techniques. And then afterwards, finally, we'll actually conclude with an exercise where you can follow this SoulFlow healing methodology and actually get an experience of it. But I will be at the center because I will work with one of my subpersonalities. So you will have a look for yourself. But back to you, Søren. It's such a joy to see you here today. And who are you? Could you say a bit about yourself and how you end up?
Yeah, I'm one of your old friends, first of all.
Definitely.
Well, we have known each other for more than 25 years. And yes, I work full-time as a spiritual teacher and a therapist, and SoulFlow is my main method in this work. And then I've written 25 books actually during the years, so I'm eagerly writing when I have the time to do it. And 4 of my books are in English, so this is also a great joy.
Yeah, and you have an upcoming one I've just read, a marvelous piece of work.
Thank you. And should I say more? It would be in this connection that we are friends, but we are also colleagues in teaching and working with therapy, and we have been exchanging tremendously over the years. And we are very often in contact with each other. So it's rather strange in a way to sit here and speak in English together, as if you are inviting a guest from a foreign country, but you are, because I'm in Denmark and you're in Norway.
Yes, for sure. Yes, and we actually met through the Theosophical Society in Denmark. We were very engaged in that community. You have been for decades. I came into it in the middle of the 90s, and this was at the forefront of our service. And then I think it was in 2007 or 8, we joined forces and started working with the 7 types, developed a whole program there. And then after, was it in 2012, we started with SoulFlow?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And it has been a great journey. We have had a lot of people, students coming through this program. And and after I left Denmark in 2016, you carried on SoulFlow in Denmark and continuing today with offering this program as a SoulFlow therapist. And people today, you guys out there, will really have a deep insight into how we work with this. So let us just hit the road with our topic. What is SoulFlow?
Yeah, SoulFlow is, as you said already, it's a therapy. It is also a healing modality. It is a psycho-spiritual approach to healing. And it definitely is under the category of therapy. So we chose the word SoulFlow because the two words combined, I had to cough, sorry.
That's fine.
The two words together tell the story because it is about the soul dimension and it is about what flow really is. But when we define soul, we don't do it in a rigid way. We talk about our essence. We talk about the core of our being, which is much more than our usual daily conscious self, our personality, our thinking, feeling, and acting in the world with our body. So soul is the essence that we are, that manifests itself through the personality or the complete character of our presence in the world, bodily, psychic, and mentally.
Yeah.
So, and flow concerns all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it, and I would say, a concept like embodying your soul. We are a divine being that have a human experience. That's a very modern and popular way of saying it. So we are not a personality having a soul. It's the other way around. We are a divine soul having a personality, and our job here is to manifest it, embody it. And, that's not easy because when we connect with the soul, and sometimes we even have deep realization of the soul, we just feel this tremendous love, altruistic love. We feel deeply connected to the universe and humanity. But that's not our day-to-day experience, as a personality.
No.
So you could say that SoulFlow is an attempt to help the soul manifest in the personality.
Yeah.
And why is there a problem with it? Yeah, because we have a lot of blockages. We have a lot of repressions. We have a lot of trauma. We have a lot of inner resistances. Our ego very often, don't want to let go of its power because it's self-serving. So when we connect with the soul, we connect with something that is much larger than our little self-centered personality. But we must also admit that SoulFlow is also a love affair with the personality and with the ego and with everything we contain. We are not here to judge anything. So that's also a primary approach of SoulFlow.
That's a very good phrase you used. It's a love affair between the soul and the personality. We could also say that as a soul, an essence, a being, we express ourselves in a form nature. And there needs to be a deep acceptance and connection between the inner being and the outer form or doing. And SoulFlow exactly addresses this opportunity instead of being in eternal warfare and creating the very well-known dualism between soul and personality, as you know, good and evil. We really embrace the fact that the personality is the creation of the soul, and the soul is exercising its ability to use its creation.
Yeah.
And this changes the perspective.
Exactly. I think that's beautifully put. We could say that the results or the purpose of SoulFlow is to create some kind of a freedom in action. Freedom in action is experienced as a flow, when we can be ourselves, when we can be our authentic self in a spontaneous, in a free-flowing, in an effortless way of just being ourselves, show up in the world as we would like to be, then we have really created a flow. And the higher or the deeper we come from, the more soul flow we will be able to manifest. But we also know that many times we get a calling, we get some vision or some insight into what we could be. And we have this perhaps devotion and wow, yes, this is my dream. If I could manifest that. And as soon as we start manifesting it, a lot of fear comes up, a lot of obstacles, or we just wonder, why don't I do what I want to do? We get mystified because I promised myself that I would quit my job and start this new career because I really know this is my calling, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And this is where SoulFlow comes in and looking at all these different inner voices, the subpersonalities.
Our conflicting agendas within ourselves, within the nature and the whole the universe of diverse aspects that we contain. And to get back to soul flow again, why are we talking about flow? We're not just talking about flow in a physical sense. We are talking about flow in all its aspects, meaning how is life when our inner flow manifests in our mental capacities and make a smooth way of creating ideas and thinking and being without prejudice and open to the world with a beginner's mind. How is flow in the emotional nature? It is a free ability to express what we contain emotionally. It is to be not inhibited, but really in the world with what we are and expressing it without fear, without any holding back. And on the physical level, flow is definitely to be able to do what we long to do. There's no gap between what we are longing for or dreaming about and what we are actually manifesting in the outer world. So, as you know, soul flow becomes the reality when the core of our nature actually is flowing through all levels of our being. And that's why we coined the word soul flow, because we thought that was really comprehensive as a word.
And now this is a psychosynthesis channel, and some of the viewers out there will be well acquainted with the concept of personal psychosynthesis and transpersonal psychosynthesis, the integration and the synthesis of all the personalities elements in a manifesting spirit, becoming what we are and expressing it in our daily life. It's in some way, it's exactly the same, but we just love the word soul flow. So that's that gives the audience an idea. So why is it spiritual? Because we call it, in some way, we call this a spiritual way of working with subpersonality, a spiritual approach to subpersonality transformation. And why is this? Because there are many people today who work with subpersonalities. That's a well-acquainted concept within many modalities, psychosynthesis, but also Gestalt has some elements of that, and internal family system has definitely also brought that up. But psychosynthesis goes way back, and actually we trace the concept of subpersonality back to William James in his writings at the end of the 19th century, and as Jolie picked it up from there. But
Yeah.
if we should look at how we work with subpersonality and why we call it spiritual, why is
Yes.
it spiritual?
Well, I think first of all, we should recognize that when we use the word spiritual, of course, we lean in on a certain tradition and also experiences, as Sajoli did it himself. But we mainly have the focus on spirituality being something that is accessible. It is about experiencing, not believing. It's not a belief system when we talk about
No.
spirituality. Spirituality is aligning ourselves with the core of our being, and there is a specific emphasis on the different levels of consciousness. And we put a very clear focus on the importance of pure awareness, like a gate opening into huge dimensions. So when we have this aspect of pure awareness and being a presence, there is an openness to transpersonal dimensions within us. And it is not about reading in a book and take words for granted because an authority has said something. It is really about experiencing what it's all about. And in the very method of SoulFlow, we start the whole process in a way as a meditative approach. So SoulFlow starts with closing your eyes, and then relaxation is the first that comes in, and then it goes directly over to an opening up to your more deep presence. And it might sound a little high-leveled when I talk about it in this way, but actually many people without any specific knowledge or advanced experience are able to tap into a certain amount of spiritual presence, because it is not something we have to get from the outside world. It's actually right where we are all the time, and it's as natural as breathing.
Exactly.
So the spiritual dimension is about the fact that we are lights in the world, we are loving hearts, and we are creative powers. And we have a tremendous possibility of unleashing this potentiality in our lives. And in a way, this is why we are here. We are here to express the core of our being. So this kind of spirituality is not about, that sounds interesting, maybe that could be true, but it is about realizing from the depth of ourselves, yes, this makes sense in a way that melts my heart. This really is a natural bubbling joy from the fountain of my inner being. And this is what we really try to help manifest.
Yeah, definitely. And if I should put it into word, at the very beginning, and the audience out there, you have an experience of it yourself when Søren conducts a SoulFlow on me, you will have the opportunity to actually enter into this meditative work and see for yourself how we work with it. So look forward to the last part of the video, and you will have a joyful experience. Yes, you say that at the very center, we see the client, and the client accept that he or she has an ability to be a present observer. So the very center of the SoulFlow technique is the conscious I, the personal self, as a pure awareness and will. It's not just a passive observation, it's a very alert and focused observation. You could actually call this pure dynamic observation or pure dynamic awareness, because we are not going into some kind of a dream world. No, we are very, very clear and present. So the will is with it. And then we build this alignment, this connection up to the soul dimension above our head, aligning and building a bridge of awareness from the heart and up to, the spiritual dimension. Yeah. And we bring all this light and love, which we intuit up here, down into the body, through the whole body, down into the earth, and anchor it solidly into the very center of Mother Earth, and bring that energy up again to the heart. So we built at the onset a spiritual pillar of awareness, love, and light and power, which is a very, very central way of working. And I don't think many other subpersonality oriented approaches are so invested and clear about the importance of building this awareness, building this meditative state of mind, because we have so much more energy, love, and light to bring in to the work with the subpersonality when we have done this type of work. Would you say something more about it?
Exactly. There is an obvious reason why we have the takeoff, so to speak, from this opening up to the spiritual awareness, according to where people are, because we are adapting. When SoulFlow therapy is guiding, it is not using, a blind formula, the same words each time. So there is a kind of connection with the person, that the client that needs help to unfold his or her inner abilities. So we modulate, or we calibrate how translate, yes. So it is to the person that we are sitting with. But there is a specific recognition of the importance of starting with establishing the awareness as the observer. And the observer it's something very, very simple, really. But I usually say experiencing yourself as the observer is the beginning of freedom. Because when we are entangled with all our roles, our subpersonalities, and we're coming to that, then we're not free, because we are kind of strapped in specific roles that we identify with. And when we identify completely with a role, we forget who we are. So establishing the observer is a kind of remembrance of who we really are. We are present and aware in our naked capacity as observers.
Exactly.
And the observer is not talking in his or her head and saying this or that, or feeling all kinds of things. There is space for thinking, there is space for feeling, but the space itself is much more. And as you know, we really operate with what you sometimes refer to as the 3 S's.
Yes.
Should we go into that?
Yes, let's do that.
So in English, it's beautiful because we distinguish between soul, self, and subpersonalities. So the way we use the word soul is we are pointing at the core of our being. Actually, we could say that the soul is the gateway to the ultimate spiritual reality of what we are. And that's a great mystery because it is infinity and it is endless and it is wordless and it is everything and nothing. And that's a huge
We don't go
story.
into that now.
We don't go into that. But it lives in the present now. When we are fully present here and now in the moment and not completely caught up in different roles, we are actually, in a way, as the observer, open to the soul awareness. When we start to direct our energies in our daily doings, we become the self, we become the conscious self, the I in the world that regulate, manifest, direct, do all kinds of things to make a day. We wake up in the morning and we have a plan more or less for the day, especially if we have something to do, and we have to be like a driver in the car of the personality through the day in order to get to different destinations, get things and so on, all the daily life. So the conscious self is the daily I, or the personality that is able to coordinate.
Yeah.
Actually, it's what we most of the time identify very much with. And then we have the third dimension, which is the subpersonalities. The subpersonalities are all the roles we take, all the different identities we have, all the ways we adapt to situations and kind of putting a glove on. Oh, I need this kind of glove now to do this, and I need this glove to do this, and it depends on what we are doing. So the subpersonalities are the living parts in our personality. And as you know, Assagioli coined a very, very beautiful image. We are like an orchestra. So the beautiful image that is often it's a relief to share this image. It is, we have the soul as the composer. We have a composer part within us, which is where from inspiration comes. It is the intuition. It is all the glimpses of wonderful ideas that could manifest.
And the purpose.
And the purpose, exactly. The meaningfulness that lies in having a purpose of playing a specific kind of music in our lives, which is what we are here to do. We are here to play our music in life. And if we try to play other people's music, it all
it's not
goes
good.
wrong because we can't walk in others' shoes. We have to manifest our own DNA, so to speak, that we have, our inner DNA that we have with us. So this is the composer part of us, which is the soul nature. And then, as you know, we have the director, which is actually the daily self, the conscious I that has to coordinate and manifest and interpret this composition, this improvisation from the soul. And it's a tremendous responsibility for the daily self to do this in the best possible way, to be able to orchestrate something inner so it becomes outer. And in order to do that, we need an orchestra. We need all the musicians and their wonderful instruments. And it's a huge crowd of living parts that are eagerly able to play the music of the soul if they are able to connect in a good way with the director and cooperate together.
Yeah, and they usually they are not.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, but this is really a great image, and yes, as a Jolie actually wrote about this in an article from the 70s called "Life as a Stage," and life as a game and state performance, and you can actually find that on my website. I think, this is, in some way, this is the whole structure of SoulFlow, aligning soul with personal self or conscious I and expressing it through the subpersonalities. And just to say a little bit about the subpersonality, and we will flesh it out as our next point. For people to understand subpersonalities, they should remind themselves that they bring different types of characteristic and behavior out in the meeting with the world. When they are a dad or when they play with their children, they become a particular person. They bring in their own connection to the inner child, because we relate to our children not only through our adulthood, but if we are good parents, I would say we also bring out our playful side. And here we draw on our own memories and our own connection to our inner children, so we can play that aspect out. But we are not being a child all the time when we are together with our wife or our partner. No, then we bring in the outer lover, whoever he or she must be. And this is a new type of behavior and psychological qualities we bring out in that meeting. And again, then we go to work and we have a professional role, and we bring out, perhaps we are a leader and have a big responsibility on our shoulder, and then we become a different person. But of course, we are still me. It's still the same identity that express in different situations. But we will, as we say, we can, if we start observing this, we can see that we shift the attentions. And if we are together with our parents, very often the inner son or the inner daughter comes forward. And sometimes if we have a problematic relation with our parents, we can feel very inhibit. So this is some of the subpersonalities. And of course, there are very informal subs also. Sometimes we can be caught up in a victim role, and we just become a victim and behave very irresponsible, perhaps. So subpersonalities are all these often unconscious behaviors that are triggered in different situations, and very often we are not aware of them. We just flow from one personality to the other without even noticing the difference.
Yeah. Yes, and we take it so much for granted that usually in our daily living, it's so common to say, well, it's just me. What are you talking about? Different sub-personalities, but they are all just me. And this is really the story of individualism, and how we have identified strongly in the recent centuries with being a kind of uniform mono-consciousness, so to say, and the plurality, the manifoldness of our human nature has been underestimated. So in a way, we honor the multitudes of facets that we contain, and we identify them as they are. They are roles that we play, and we usually identify with the roles. So when we jump, as you just spoke before, when I'm a dad, then I'm in one way. I have 2 daughters, so I have to connect in a specific way to them. It's very different from my love, my partner. And again, it's different when I talk to my mother. It would be very, very strange to do it in the same way, because the roles do not fit for everything.
No.
So, and we could also say that what is a role? It is an identity. It is really something that has a kind of autonomy within our nature. So if one wonders, how can I really be sure that something is a role? Well, it has a kind of mindset of its own. So for instance, if it is the subpersonality of the joker, in certain situations when I'm with friends, I'm the one who's always telling the jokes, and I glide into this ha 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 role, and some people love it and other people hate it, and that, and in other situations when I'm in a supermarket, I may be slightly irritated because the queue is too long, and I'm definitely not the funny guy in it.
No.
So in a way, circumstances can determine which role I need to take upon me, and it happens so quickly that most people are just saying, well, it's just me. No, it is not the whole of you. It is a part of you that is activated. And it is like a gestalt. It is, we also know it when we talk about having different voices in our head. Well, this part of me says this, but then the other part opposes it and saying, no, you could also do this. So I'm conflicting with a crowd of voices in my head. What are they?
And we can decide to now, I just want to really come into good shape, be fit. And I take the decision now, tomorrow I will start running and I will sign up in the local fitness center. And then a week after, nothing has happened. What happened there? There's a lazy one. There's a lazy one in there that don't want to work out because there's another agenda.
You were hijacked by the part of you that just wants to lie on the couch and look at Netflix with a lot of yummy.
Yeah, perhaps, or you are a workaholic. You don't have time for that because the ambitious part of you say, why should I work? I'll use 2 hours for that when I could write an article. So you see, there's these battling voices all the time within, but the intuition of people that we are one is also true, because when we go, we are some kind of a paradox between the one and the many. The one is the conscious self and the soul. This is our innermost identity, our identity as I said it, a conscious dynamic awareness. And this we can discover, this oneness. But when we express ourselves in the world, then we express ourselves in multitude of ways. And perhaps we should just spend a little time differentiating between different types of subpersonalities. And we have, the age-related subpersonalities. We have the relational subpersonalities, we have archetypical subpersonalities, and this is not psychosynthesis, but experience shows that we can also have past life subpersonalities. But could you say a little bit to start on with the age-related subpersonalities?
Absolutely. When we talk about the age-related or the stage subpersonalities, it is subpersonalities that we inhabit in different stages of our life. As we are small children, there is the infant, there is the baby, there is a small child, there is the elder child, there is the teenager and the youngster and the young
Adult.
and you know all this journey that we make through the different phases of life, the different cycles that we experience when we come to certain stages, it really develops different aspects of our nature. So in this very moment, you and I, we have a living inner child nature, and it is alive, but you and I, we are in our 60s, right? And at the same time, we also have the inner teenagers. They are very much alive within us, and the young adult, and all phases. We even have preliminary aspects of the old wise nature within us. We have not yet really arrived and experienced it in the physical world, but we have access to this also, because it is an asset within our nature. So we developed a lot of different subpersonalities during the different stages in our lives, and they are more or less free. Some of them are partly inhibited, some of them are very free, you know, in certain situations, because of our upbringing, because of school, because of job situations, because of partners and neighbors and things that happen with us. And this brings me, of course, all over to relational subpersonalities.
Let me say a bit more about the age-related. You can say that at each stage, from childhood to adulthood, we identify with different self-images. And this is an unconscious process very often, because as children, we don't go around reflecting upon who am I and how do I, this is very much also something that is developed in exchange with the external environment. And some of the inner subpersonalities is just also repressed. It's the dissociated part of us, the part of us that was not allowed in the family situation, become externalized or become repressed behind barriers. But they don't disappear. They still from behind or underneath send their messages. It can be sadness, it can be aggression, it can be many, many ways that they try to communicate with us. So the 8 stages, psychosynthesis has a concept for this. We speak about the psychosynthesis of the ages, because as a Jolie, and this is also an important article on my website, he speaks about how important it is to conserve and keep alive the best aspects of each age. And he gives examples of Goethe and Chaplin that were even very, very old. They were really childish and had this aliveness in themselves. And in this way, we should think of ourselves as one, yes, but also as a group. So being aware of all these subpersonalities give us a way of being group conscious in a personal way. It's a kind of group consciousness. Let me give you an example. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and then I'm very grumpy. I said, why am I so grumpy? The day haven't even started yet, and why am I grumpy?
Yeah.
But it's just a grumpy old man that's inside of me. And then I start meditating, and I give him some love, and I remind myself I don't have to bring this part of me out in when I meet my daughter or my wife. Sometimes I cannot help it. The grumpy one just wants to get out. And then I'm a pain in the ass, both for myself, but also for my surroundings.
Yeah.
So you see, it's a very, very tricky thing to work with these, but they are very, very alive, and we can learn to be the director when we become aware of them, because we can acknowledge them. Okay, yeah, grumpy man, I feel you now, and I don't know why you are so grumpy, but let's take a little meditation and see if I can cheer you up. Sometimes I cannot, then I just have to go on with the day.
Yeah, good examples, definitely. And it then naturally touches into the next group of subpersonalities that I was just mentioning, relational subpersonalities, which is the parts of us that develop through the meetings we have with other people during our lives. And it has all kinds of possibilities. It can be very, very positive, uplifting relations we develop with other people. And the impression within us is that it creates our version of the person that we actually are connected with. So it's important to say that all subpersonalities are our versions. It is within ourselves, and how our parents and our friends and our colleagues really impress us. It creates our living version of them within our inner world.
Yeah,
and it's deeply fascinating
very
because,
fascinating.
and especially when we realize that we should not expect our inner version of a person to be the same as the outer person,
No,
because
but
that
often we
person is
do.
exactly. But relational subpersonalities can be that we have a very traumatic experience with a person, and it creates really a victim version within us, and a demonization of that person. So we have both the victim and that dangerous being in there. So two
Yeah,
aspects are created within us,
yeah,
and it's very powerful. At the same way, we have people who uplift us, and they become kind of lights within us, and makes us stand in our very shining nature. And when we step into that role that is inspired by that, we are able to do a lot of things. And this is also to say, some subpersonalities are inhibited, and they are really contained within small spaces. Other subpersonalities are very well functioning. They are really our play partners in life. They are very good working musicians in our life orchestra. But they are all potentially able to unfold an inner gem, an inner core, but it can be held back by different situations we experience in life. So this is the other group of subpersonalities.
yeah. And I would like to say a bit about these relational subpersonalities. We could also say that it is our outer relations that we have internalized.
Exactly.
And these inner internalizations is our image of the other. And very often we project our image of the other upon them. And sometimes we then get disappointed because people don't live up to our expectations. There's a difference between how we perceive them in our inner world and how they act in the outer world. But we have a very fascinating work with these relational figures, because one of the most important one is our inner father and mother. And this inner mother and father comes in many different versions, because there is a shadow mother, and that's the part of the mother that we could not integrate because she was a threat for us. So she gets pushed out. So when we start working with these inner relational subpersonality, and it's very important to do so, then we discover that these inner relation act like they are living persons. And to take an example, I've done a lot of work with my parents, and my inner mother believed that she was the outer mother. That's a very, very difficult thing, because the inner mother has my inner mother, the image I've built up inside of me, believes that she's the outer mother, and of course start directing me with my mother's values and needs. And it's very, very annoying to have my parents speak inside my head, because I'm me, I'm not my mother. So this is, there's really a dynamic going on, and in some psychoanalytic work they call it object relations. There is a relation between the inner child and the parent, and we have to break that relation in that respect, that we actually very often and sometimes work with the inner mother and make her realize that she's not the outer mother, she's actually the inner mother, and can start having a totally new and different life inside of me, because they are part of my psyche, with my qualities, with my possibilities. And this create, and I think this is something that has really revolutionized my inner life, because suddenly my father and mother start seeing me and start cheering on me on the inner levels, because they understand where I come from and who I am. And so this conflict between, if we have been brought up with a family background and our parents have not been able to see who we are, then we can actually break that spell in some way and start having a happy childhood again, when the inner parents start realizing the wonderful man that I have become in my own promising perceptions. So just to give some examples of how important this work is with the relational parts.
Yeah, exactly. And you touch upon a cornerstone of SoulFlow work, realizing the utmost importance of the father and the mother and the child, which is a kind of core trinity within us. So the father aspect is really the male energy. It is the man. It is the masculine part of us, animus, as Jung would say. And we have the mother, we have the female, the woman nature within us. And then we have the third part, which is this very magical, adoring child nature that we always have. So the basic trinity, as I see it, really is to recognize that the masculine, feminine, and childlike aspect of us can be found in endless variations, in a way, in all subpersonalities, really. So this trinity of possibilities is a world in itself. And of course, the inner child is, without any comparison, the most famous subpersonality in the world, and it is really hot to talk about the inner child. And here in Denmark, and certainly in many other countries in the world, you have educations to become inner child therapists. So famous is this subpersonality that it becomes a whole world in itself. In a way, it is a little unfair that you only focus on the child nature, because as we are unfolding now, we contain a huge universe of facets.
Definitely. And I think we will glide, just mention briefly the two other sections so we can come to how we work. There's
Absolutely.
the archetypical subpersonalities, and they are related to, you can see, the identities we sometimes take up. If we identify with being a warrior is a famous archetype. Then we play out that archetypical image and all the qualities related to it. We can also be identified with the clown, or we can be identified with the trickster, or the old serious man and the preacher. There's so many archetypes that can, capture us. If we have read the Batman and Superman in our childhood, we can start identify with Superman and Batman. And this will truly affect us.
The whole Marvel universe is archetypes made into a fictional world that people with a childlike nature like us can identify with, and so on.
Yeah. And then there is the past life, subpersonalities. And I always, when I start with SoulFlow, never demands that people believe in reincarnation. So there is an option, when these types of experiences comes up, we can just call them symbolic expressions of the collective unconscious. We don't know, we don't have to identify them as past lives, but in my own personal experience, I do. And I have had a lot of SoulFlows working with past life, and it has been very, very helpful. And the idea is that the soul take some past life down into existence, and in order for us to refine them. And they play out as, our drawing to one of my themes in life has been isolation. And I have several incarnations as, some kind of a person who was very withdrawn from society, lived out in the forest or just by myself. So this is also an archetype, but it was definitely also past lives that I have worked through, and the knowledge of it gives some biographical detail to my self-understanding. But I think enough for that. Now,
let me just finish by saying we should not forget the important dynamics of subpersonalities that often, and it's something that we very, very often experience when we have to dive deep into ourselves to free some of the inhibited subpersonalities. We get a very well-known dynamic of the vulnerable parts within us, the vulnerable subpersonalities that are really way in our inner world, protecting themselves, and being very isolated and sensitive. And then we have the protector subpersonalities that come up and object and protest and fight and so on when we attempt to connect with the more sensitive or hurt aspects of our deeper nature. So there is a huge world of dynamics in this, not to mention transpersonal subpersonalities that we contain. So it's a huge range, yes.
Yeah.
But let's get on.
If we should touch on some of the, because as people understand, so the subpersonalities are used in many different psychologies. But if we should bring some of the more unique aspects of our understanding of subpersonality to the forefront, what would that be? Could you mention?
Well, first of all, now we've covered a wide range of subpersonalities that we have, all of us within us in our individual versions, in all their different aspects. They are all living entities within us. We really take this as a corner point, because it's not just something that we have to reprogram. I'm really not very enthusiastic with this way that is often talked about as you just need to reprogram something within you, as if you have a kind of old tape recorder with a recording, and then you have to put another recording on the top of that, and then everything is kind of changed. Subpersonalities need to be approached with the same respect and appreciation as a living entity should. Yeah. So, because each and every subpersonality is not only a living entity, but it has in its core, it has a light or a heart that really is what it could manifest if it was not inhibited. So, and many subpersonalities are in a pretty poor condition when we relate to the parts of us that are not well functioning, but there's hope for all of them. And when we work with the SoulFlow, we have this unlingering approach that we really see them and meet them as we would meet a person in the outer world. And it is amazing and deeply magical what happens when we approach our inner subpersonalities with respect, and not, with a hidden agenda. I'm smarter than you, and you just need to do this and this, and then I can liberate you. This is manipulation. And it's just another subpersonality coming in doing that if we try to attempt to do that. So
sometimes we call it radical kindness.
Yes.
We really underline the fact that we approach these subs, and sometimes we really connect with something very ugly, something almost demonic and very frightening, but still we meet them with unconditional love, with a curiosity, and also because we know there is a light inside of them. Often the subpersonalities are not aware of their light. Exactly. They are more identified with their condition. Exactly. And when this has been the most transformative aspect of my journey, to realize and to see how the subpersonality completely change their nature when they see their own light. And in psychosynthesis, we call it a transpersonal quality, but it is some kind of it has a divine potential within it. And SoulFlow, in some way, massage, love this inner light out to the open, and that really transform the subpersonality in its essence. And it's a totally revolutionary way of transformation that happens when we practice that kind of work. Yeah, sometimes I've just screamed of happiness and joy when a subpersonality that was a prisoner of the past and very, very lonely suddenly realized their own light and became liberated. And it has a deep effect on our afterlife. When we have been through this soul flow, some old patterns start to melt and we become more free in our expression.
Yes, you could say we trust the core and dignity of each subpersonality. The way it acts when it is in chaos or conflict or inhibited is absolutely not a help for our life. But when we meet a subpersonality with an unwavering trust that the core of this living entity within me is actually healthy, it becomes like watering a delicate plant. We don't try to manipulate the leaves to open very quickly so the flower can be seen, because this will be a devastating mess. And none of the petals of the flower will really unfold, but will just destroy the flower. This is manipulation. So we actually honor the specific nature of each subpersonality and water it with our loving presence, our gentle presence, creating this space of gentle presence and interest in meeting the subpersonality and learn from it why it is where it is and how we can help cooperate with it to become a musician in our orchestra.
Exactly. And the last thing I would like to address very briefly is that the subpersonality is a prisoner of the past. It's in some way, it's attached to a past history and lives in the past. You could call it a time warp or something like that. And when my inner child realized that he's not living together with his mom and dad back in Denmark. No, he lives with me and my wife and my daughters. Then wow, new possibilities, because these they are trapped in a past prison, and so they live in some kind of isolated existence. And bringing them up into the now and let them have a useful function in my present life as a valuable asset to who I am. This is really the one of the last step, the integrative step of the subpersonality life. We don't just leave them there in the past. No, we bring them up into the present so they can play a role in the future.
Exactly.
So I think this is some of the uniqueness of SoulFlow. And we have already covered something about how does transformation look like, but do you have any good stories we could, before we are going toward, I'm going to have a very brief SoulFlow exercise. So stay on here. It will be a good experience. But the last, how does it change us? What is the end result?
Well, I would like, I can take several examples from my own life, because the main reason why I've been teaching and educating and having clients with SoulFlow during the last 12 years is because of the deep significance it had and has in my own life. And one of the examples could be, I just take two examples. One of the examples is when I started to approach my inner subpersonalities with this completely different atmosphere, with a full gentle presence, my workhorse mentality started to change into a way of being in the world where I am entitled to relax and enjoy, and I don't have to pressure myself all the time to get huge results and so on, and be eternally stressed. So one of the huge transformational effects that SoulFlow has had is I'm actually enjoying life tremendously more than I did in earlier in my life. And in just here's the other example. In just one single session, almost 12 years back, I let go of my fear of heights. It took one session to meet an aspect of my inner nature. I'll not go into any details, just say that the meeting was so transformational that afterwards I had to test out, do I still have this fear of heights? And no, it was permanently changed. One session, one meeting with a subpersonality. It was a huge meeting. I was exhilarated, and I was actually jumping and laughing after the session because I felt such a relief. And I have, the last 12 years, I've been hiking in mountains. I love heights. There's only a tiny bit left of fear of heights, and I would call it a rational reason to fear heights.
I live in Norway. There's pretty high mountains here, and I have some fear of heights too, and I think it guards me.
But you know, it has to work in real life. So the real meetings have a transformation that works and changes our behavior, our way of expressing ourselves more freely and more joyfully and more honestly in the world, and become that living orchestra that we are actually here to be. So these two examples, a more slow effect and instant transformation, are from my own life, and two of the main reasons why I have such a passion for SoulFlow, because I know this works.
Yes,
we know that.
Yeah, and you know, we both have hundreds of clients through a long process with this. So I will say SoulFlow is the best transformational technique I have ever encountered, and I've done hundreds of SoulFlow sessions on myself, and
Yes.
and we are, you know, there's in some of us more and others less, but we have a lot of baggage to work through, and the more we want freedom, the more we want more love in our life, the higher we have to pay the price of cleaning up the past. I think we are now at a time where we can actually start doing a little session.
Yes, so we'll make a mini session. Let's agree on that.
And let me address the audience out there. You can join this instruction and do the meditation and meeting an inner subpersonality of your own. But of course, when we start working with my subpersonalities, then you are on your own. But you then will get the gist of how we work and the quality of how we approach working with subpersonality in this way. So I hope you will have a joyful and insightful experience.
So, Kenneth, should we try to focus on what kind of aspect, or do you think we should just jump in and see what's emerging?
Well, I look very joyful now, and I am also very joyful, but I actually had some grumpiness this morning, and I think that's why it was so just on my mind.
Well,
so let's look at this. Why is there a bit grumpiness inside of me? Something that's a bit angry.
That's a good point. So let's do that.
Let's do it.
Okay. So first of all, we close our eyes and just use a moment to sense how it is to be right here in the body, and you allow yourself to relax and sense how you are present here. And you allow your body to be fully present. You sense your breathing. Sense how you breathe all the way down to your stomach and connect. And you are present here, giving space to your emotions and your thoughts. Realizing that right now you are the observer. You are the awareness that witness thoughts and emotional states and sensations. But you are the observer, the silent presence. And as that presence, sense your heart, sense your natural, gentle heart. Lean into your heart, right there in the center of you. And allow that gentle presence to rise silently up through your inner body, like a wave of gentleness ascending up to your head, like being in sunlight, sensing the warmth and the kindness. And then open up and sense your inner sky. This huge sky of freedom above you. Align yourself with the clarity, with the warmth, the energy, all available. And allow it from above to descend through your body as a living breath, as a clarity or a light that just descends down into your body like a slow motion waterfall, all the way down through your body. Let it continue through your legs and your feet, and further down, and sense your deep connectedness to the living earth. The wonderful living earth beneath you. The place of vitality, but also of peace. And let the presence of the deep earth pass up through your presence. So the presence of the earth rises as a living support up through the whole being and body of your presence. So you are connected below as above, and resting in your heart. Now let your gentle heart bring its presence down into your stomach area, just like a sphere of gentleness, and let it expand from there to become a space that just expands out like a sphere, a concentric space that enfolds your whole being. So you are allowing a gentle space to be all around you, holding in deep appreciation all the living parts that are within you. And in this very inviting openness, have a special welcome to that grumpy part of you that you felt this morning, this very special aspect that made you feel a little bit like an old grumpy man. Let that part emerge in this room of hospitality, right where it is and how it is right now.
Yeah. What I notice is a tension in my solar plexus and irritation, a contraction.
Yeah.
And immediately I get an image of an old man who is angry and frustrated. And it's not anyone I know. So it's so I don't know if this is an archetypical sub or a past life, but I just honor its presence. And
is in a way sitting there just.
Yeah, I don't have a very clear picture. I just see a big man. Is a bit overweight, and he has a naked, the upper part of his body, he has no clothes. And I sense he's very lonely and isolated.
Yeah.
And it's like he don't want anything to do with other people.
No.
And I start addressing him and make him know that I'm here.
Exactly.
I tell him that he is a living being within me and I'm here to listen.
And thank you for him being here.
Yeah. And I ask him about what it is for pain he feel
He
into.
experiences.
Yeah, I feel also that he's in pain. And that's why he's so angry.
Okay.
He hardly looks up on me, but he
No.
acknowledges that I'm here, and it's like it's the usual thing that he brings out, that he's not recognized, that his ambition has not been fulfilled, and
No.
he's not acknowledged. And he feels like in some way he's a nobody. But there's also something that is unjust.
Yeah. Is he aware that he is inside you?
No, not yet.
Not yet. No. Is he aware that you are there right now?
Yes, and he's a bit stunned.
Yeah.
It's like he looks at me and says, "What the hell are you doing here?" But he, in some way, he feels that my presence is friendly.
Yeah.
So I'm allowed to be here.
That's good. Really good.
And I let him tell a bit about his story.
Please.
How did he become so isolated?
Yeah.
He says something like, I took too much space. He was too boasting, or so people simply didn't want to be around him.
Is it that he dominated too much?
Yeah.
Well, so you could let him know it. You are very interested and thankful for knowing what he shares with you.
In some way, he just wanted to be popular. And now he's ending in a very different situation.
Yeah. But at the same time, he's not entirely alone in this situation right now. And
I'm here, yes.
you are.
And I asked him what went wrong.
Yeah.
And in some way, I think he's at a stage where he has some self-reflection. He said he had two big dreams.
Yes.
He was a dreamer, wanted the impossible.
Yeah. So the
And
dream.
I appreciate him for his honesty.
Yeah, exactly. Is the dream gone for him?
Yeah. That's no dream anymore. In some way, he looks like he has resignated.
Yeah. There could be a possibility that you could gently share with him that you are very willing to be there for him to discover perhaps a new dream.
Okay, I tell him that I'm here because he's a living being within me, and we share the same resources. And I'm here to see if he eventually would like to partner up.
Yeah.
And there's a little twinkle in his eye. He's a little interested.
He's a little interested, yes.
He says something like, "What should I do?"
Yeah. Good question.
I said, because I see a light in him. He has some kind of a childlike adventurer. And there's some innocence in it. So I tell him that I see his childlike joy for adventure. And I really like it. And he has a lot of humor now. He said, "Well, that has brought me a lot of trouble."
Yeah.
Because it was too unrealistic. Yeah, I said, but I recognize it anyway, and I see it's a beautiful quality.
Yes. Wonderful.
And I find in some way that we have found an understanding now, that he listens. I feel connected to him.
This is really important, because as we are having a kind of short meeting at this point, I hope you can share with him that this does not mean that it will not continue this meeting. But at the moment, is he okay with this small beginning? Could he accept that?
Yes, he's very happy and also honored that I paid him such a kind meeting, or I was friendly to him. He didn't expect that.
No.
So I promise him that we will take up the conversation and see how he can play a role in my life, and how I can play a role in his.
That's beautiful.
For the mutual benefit of both of us.
Exactly. And thank you so much for him showing up here in this meeting. He's deeply appreciated, and his forthcomingness is really wonderful. So thank you to him.
Yeah.
So if that is okay, we slowly prepare to get back to the outer world, with him being there in his full presence in you, and we sense our body and open our eyes here for coming. That we've never tried that before.
No.
Not online.
No, not online. That's for sure. Yes, I think it was a very good start.
It was.
And it was a new
surprising.
kind of subpersonality. I've never seen that type of figure before, you know, a very overweight person.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to ponder on. And yeah, but he was grumpy because he was isolated
Yeah.
and was in pain.
And he had been dominating too much, but he
Yeah.
had a dream. He had dreams.
Yes.
So it's
And what I really liked about it was that he had this childlike adventure. And, you know, I know that from myself. You know, I can be very enthusiastic when I have an idea, you know, and sometimes it goes too fast. But I like the energy because it's authentic to me. It's part of who I am. So he definitely on a very well-known stream of consciousness.
yeah.
So I think we just should wrap it up now. And
Let me just say two things. First of all, when we do this, it's very important that we get a focus on not leaving him there, but getting back if something is not finished. And it is about your life in the outer world and him being a possibility unfolding. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, I think people should know that we are so used to making SoulFlow that in a way you initiate on your own
yes,
several things that in a
yeah,
normal SoulFlow session, I will suggest things, but you are so autonomously working that I only gave few suggestions
yeah.
into it.
And that's definitely true. So very often there's much more work to be done before we actually encounter sub-personalities. But, you know, because we have done this work so often, then it's just so natural. And there is an inner openness to the process.
Exactly.
Yes, I think we will wrap it up here. We have done, I think, a very, very good session. I'm so grateful for your presence and all your knowledge and your willingness to participate in this. If people want to connect with you or look more into the work you have done, you have also some books out in English. Where can they find your website and?
Well, first of all, on Amazon.com, it is possible to find searching for my name, Søren with an O with a slash, and then seek my name, and you'll find several of the English books. And secondly, I would say that I have a YouTube channel that will now become focused with the English language. So there are many Danish videos, but a few English, and from now on, the focus will be the English videos. And some of it will definitely also be what we do together and inspire us. And then I have a Danish website. I don't know if that's that much relevant. I don't have a complete English website at the moment, but my website is Søren Hauge, my full name, and .com. And but I think the YouTube channel and I have an English newsletter. So if people arrive on my website and go down on the front page, people can subscribe to my English newsletter. And that is actually easy access.
Good.
And I would also like to say, Kenneth, thank you for this playfulness and this wonderful atmosphere we have been doing this in, and for you doing your tremendous work. I am so full of inspiration of your depth with Assagioli and the psychosynthesis. And we, both of us, consider SoulFlow therapy to be mainly inspired from psychosynthesis, and you are quite a master in that field. So I'm really excited to be with you in this. Thank you.
Thank
Kenneth.
you. And perhaps it's not our last conversation together. Let's see what the future will bring.
Yes.
But anyway, and thank you for the viewers of this. And if you like the content, please like and subscribe and share this content with people you know perhaps would appreciate it. So thank you a lot for supporting the channel, and thank you to Søren, and bye-bye, everybody.
All the best.